Hey guys, and down here this is going to be my chapter review to One Piece 985 New Onigashima Project. Now this was a banging chapter, let's get right down into it. My first scene here, I call it confrontation. What we see is Kanjuro confronting the samurai north of Onigashima with some of Kaido's men. Now not much really happens here, but then I look at how many points I've got and quite a bit happened here. Just not much like really super important. But let's get right down into actually what happened. So the first thing, Kanjuro has used his abilities to create two headless samurai horsemen, quite possibly symbolizing what he intends to do or what he wishes to do with his former comrades. And Izo makes mention of this, and you see Raizo saying something like, "Oh, we're not headless though," and I was like, "Yeah, sick comeback, bro. Good job." But the second thing is Kanjuro tells the samurai what he did to Momonosuke. After he tried to escape, he's like, "Yeah, I beat his ass unconscious." He also makes mention of a cut that Momo gave him on his hand. Will this come into play later on? I'm not sure if it will, like somewhere down the line where he tries to pick up his art brush kind of thing and he goes, my hand, or something like that. It could be, I don't know. I kind of doubt it comes up later on, but it would be pretty poetic. And as kind of the next part is, Kanjuro recognizes Izo, but he isn't phased at all in the slightest by seeing him. And I was like, boy, you better put some respect on Izo's name. Like, Izo is not someone who just rolls up and you're like, yeah, I'm cool with that. Izo is a member, one of the commanders of the Whitebeard Pirates. This guy was part of the Paramount War. This one's someone who people like Marco and something like that are probably on the same level as. Marco is quite unique in that sense, but Izo is definitely not someone who you can just look over and just smile at. So I think Kanjuro is still thinking about the Izo he knew and not the Izo who we're pretty sure Izo has become since joining the Whitebeard Pirates. Kanjuro then tells the samurai about Momo's execution and that it's taking place on the stage inside the castle. You know, just giving them, specific location. This is where you need to go when you do defeat me, so you can go save their ass. I was like, that seems to be a little bit of a weird giveaway. Like, oh, by the way, if you want to go save him, like the last thing you want to do in a situation like this is, oh, by the way, the one person you're trying to save, he's over here. What would be more insidious is, I'm never going to tell you where this kid is. He's going to die regardless of what you do. That's what I expected from Kanjuro. But I think what Oda's trying to do here is the samurai, Nekomamushi, Inuarashi, the Akazaya 9. We didn't actually see Law here, which is something I'm confused about. But all of these guys now know where Momonosuke is. We're going to get Luffy and Yamato running towards where Momonosuke is. Nami and Carrot are there. Zeus is there. Big Mom is there. Kaido and his crew, King, Queen, Jack, they're all there. We've got Robin and Jinbei there. Zoro, I have no idea where he is. Sanji, we don't know where he is. He might be in stealth mode. We don't know where Usopp and Chopper are. But it looks like a lot of people are going to gather around that center stage. So I think that's why we got this part where, oh, by the way, Momonosuke is around the center stage. That's probably where you want to go. So I was like, okay, I kind of get that by the end of the chapter. And then the next thing, we kind of get to see both Nekomamushi and Inuarashi's new limbs. Nekomamushi with a gun replacement for his arm. It's quite literally, he's Mega Man X. And Inuarashi with a sword replacement for his leg. I'm not sure what the equivalent of there would be. Imagine Barbossa, but with a sword instead of a peg leg. So it must be fun and games when Inuarashi is walking on like a hardwood floor. I can just imagine him getting stuck every other step, and he's just like, "Son, I gotta pull my leg out." But either way, I thought it was pretty funny and pretty cool actually how both Inuarashi and Nekomamushi saw each other's adjustments and were like, "Hey, that's pretty cool, bro." I was like, yeah, it is pretty cool. And I like the fact that they're not at each other's throats as they were before. Finally, we see Kikunojo pull down her kind of Hanya-ish mask. I'm not really sure what type of mask hers is. It's kind of like a Hanya mask, but it doesn't really have the upper half. It's more of kind of like a jaw cover, or like two quarters, half of your face kind of cover, two quarters, which is very kind of, I've seen it in like previous samurai movies where they have this kind of really thin, it's not really a mask, it's kind of just like, it's almost like a face mask, Corona-ish, and they place it around just the top of the nose and it goes all the way down. It's not really the same thing as the kind of theatrical Hanya mask or the Oni mask, but I'm not really sure what you even call that. But she pulls down her mask and decides to engage with Kanjuro, and I thought this was so cool. I personally really like Kikunojo's design, her epitaph of the fallen snow, how saddened she is by all of this, and the fact that she takes on Kanjuro herself. And later in the chapter, actually, was Kikunojo the one that we refer to as a he? I think Kikunojo refers to him, as a he. But later in the chapter, we see Kikunojo shaking with tears streaming down his face, or down his mask even, and he has a bloodied sword also in the picture. And we don't see who's holding the sword. We don't know where the sword is, whether it's stuck in someone's body or pointing out through someone's body. we just see that, and the pattern running through the sword, through Kikunojo's sword, looks different to the one that we saw at the beginning of this chapter. But this difference could be due to the fact that we got a close-up. It might just be more detail. But why was Kikunojo crying? I think it's because he has to fight Kanjuro, someone he saw as a comrade for the longest of times. But it could be other things. It could be maybe he's worried about Momonosuke. It could be maybe Kanjuro drew Oden, which Kikunojo is now fighting against or has to fight against. So it could be a whole bunch of different reasons for why Kikunojo is crying. We simply won't know until we get there. I personally like to think that Kikunojo is just unhappy with the fact that she has to fight with someone who she saw as a comrade for the longest of time. The next thing is, if Kikunojo loses this fight already, or has lost this fight already in the presence of Izo, I'd be really disappointed. I really want the Scabbards to show their worth and not get banged out by Kanjuro and his lackeys, especially as he looks like he has the lesser force at this moment in time. Like, we have the whole Akazaya 9, or at least quite a few of them. We have Raizo, we have Kawamatsu, I think we have Ashiro Doji there as well. We have Inuarashi, Nekomamushi. I don't think, Kinemon's not there and Denjiro's not there. But the majority of these guys are there. We have Law there somewhere. If these guys get banged out, I will be disappointed. I'm going to be like, really? From Kanjuro and these guys who we don't even know the names of? Unless these guys are some big names, which we find out later on, I'd be truly surprised. So I'm really hoping we get to see Kikunojo really kick some ass here. So then the second major scene is Luffy and Yamato. In this scene, we get a little bit more conversation between Luffy and Yamato. Yamato seems a little confused though, she says, speaking as Kozuki Oden, because I knew Ace, you should give me a ride on your ship. Yamato obviously seems to be a huge kind of fanboy of Oden, but then does she actually identify as a he? Or was that just under the guise of her speaking as Oden? Like, because I'm Oden, because I feel I'm Oden, I'm a he. I don't really know which way to take this. The way I took this was she identifies as a she, but seeing as Oden was a he, and she's a huge fan, she likes to be addressed in the same manner as he was, even by name. So when she's feeling in that kind of Oden mood, she feels like she's a she, but then she feels like she's a he, but she's not him, and she gets a little feisty with Luffy when he says the same thing. He's like, hey, but you ain't Oden. Oden was this guy that everyone loved, and she was like, oh, maybe you're more Oden than I am, and he's like, the heck are you talking about? So I was really confused by that whole conversation. I was like, I don't really know where this is going. I don't understand any of this. The key thing here, she tells Luffy about the exploding shackles on her wrists, which, well, Luffy then asks her about whether she wants to get them taken off or not. And if Yamato is being genuine here, this would no doubt spur loyalty in Luffy from Yamato. Oh my god, he took off those exploding shackles which have imprisoned me for the last like 18 or 20 years that I've been on this island. I love this guy for doing that. He's someone I can trust in because he did something like that. But does this mean that Yamato would then join the crew because Luffy did that and because they fight together? Who knows? I think there's a chance. Hiyori and Momonosuke, along with the samurai, should be enough, in my opinion, to govern Wano into the future. The samurai wouldn't really take well to housing or having Yamato in Wano, seeing as she's the child of Kaido, and there's a lot of bad blood there. But would Luffy really take her in if she wanted to travel the world? I think so. Luffy seems to be that guy, and kind of that Oden replacement, the same kind of Oden for Roger. We'd have the Yamato for Luffy. I think especially with her knowledge of Oden's diary, she's a very, very useful piece to have on Luffy's crew. So I think she might actually be able to join, especially with that whole thing of, one crewmate joining after another. I really think that there is a big chance here. So then the final scene is the new Onigashima project. This is where shit goes down. Kaido begins his speech talking about the Paramount War and the abolition of the Shichibukai, stating that the government has something better to replace them with. I'm not sure if we actually saw anything about this, but it's a good speculation to have. The government has something that they're willing. I'm pretty sure that there was mentioning of this right before we got that scene where all the Shichibukai are now being hunted down, and we see Kobe going after, I think it was Hancock. But there was mention of some sort of replacement scheme for the Shichibukai. Now his idea, this is Kaido, against this new kind of formation of the world government and against the world government in general, is to join hands with the big mom pirates, which we've already seen, and gain possession of the ancient weapons. Now, they don't seem to be aware just yet of Shirahoshi being Poseidon. At least I don't think they're aware. But there are individuals outside of the Straw Hat Pirates who know of this, and I think Karibo is one of those guys. As Kaido then introduces this alliance, Big Mom rolls up with a troop of homies, with Zeus in her right hand, partially blacked out, with X's for eyes. When I first saw this, I was like, has she removed the soul from Zeus? Like, has she essentially killed Zeus for his his treachery. I wasn't sure because she entered through lightning. Lightning bursts through the sky. She comes into this stage area, meaning he would still have to be alive. Zeus would have to be alive for Big Mom to utilize those abilities. So he might have just got his ass beat big time by Big Mom, which is what I think happened. Even though he's got X's for eyes, which usually like suggests either death or, well, it's kind of like a comical death. I suppose he's just been knocked out. Either way, she rolls up into the center stage area, and Big Mom drops Nami and Carrot onto the ground, no doubt having captured them after grabbing Zeus and spanking him silly. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to move forward. We have, like I said before, we have Nami there, we have Carrot there. We're going to have so many people in the center stage, but what's Big Mom going to do with these two? Are they just going to be there like, oh yeah, by the way, I found these guys trolling around, I don't know who the hell they are. They're actually part of the Straw Hats, actually. I just remembered. We should probably be very worried that the Straw Hats are here. If the Straw Hats are here, chances are the Samurai are here. So maybe this is going to be Kaido's kind of clue, like, oh shit, who are those kids over there? Is this an invasion? Are we being invaded right now? So maybe we're going to get more of that, but we'll come back to that in a bit. But with this, Kaido kind of proclaims that they will claim the One Piece using the ancient weapons to explode out into the world, plunge the world into war and turmoil. And for the most part, I thought this was all okay. You know, Nami and Carrot being in a tough position, in a tough spot, definitely adds some tension to the scene, especially because Robin and Jinbei are there too, so now they're kind of torn between, oh shit, should we save Momonosuke if the samurai don't move? Should we save Nami and Carrot if, Momonosuke is about to be executed? Who do we go with? So I think they're in a bit of a difficult situation. You see Robin kind of like, oh shit, what the hell do we do here? This next part is where the spice level exploded. We get that extra tang all over this chapter. Kaido goes on talking directly to the samurai beneath Orochi. He speaks of how Wano is a natural fortress to the outside world with its waterfalls and structure. Even the world government actually stays away from Wano and leaves it alone. He speaks about how they could expand their weapons factories across the entirety of Wano, even through the flower capital, using the people already there as their labor force. With this, he actually wants to transform Wano into a lawless land fit for all sorts of piracy, shocking Orochi, who thought this land was his to govern and that a partnership with a pirate would end well, which it never does. So as Orochi kind of begins to complain, like, hey, big man, listen here for a sec. This is my territory, yeah? You don't just go around saying you're gonna dismantle the flower capital, make it your own, spread all these factories across it. This is my territory. I'm the reason why you got to build all this shit in the first place. And as Orochi begins that complaint, Kaido uses King's sword, because King's there with the scabbard just like holding it like, oh shit, the shit's about to go down. And he yanks out, I think, King's sword to decapitate Orochi, and he does that. He decapitates him straight up, shocking the crowd. You see Fukurokuju, you see the Oniwabanshu, you see the samurai as well, who have no doubt, you see it on their faces, they shit their pants. Fukurokuju's like, oh my god, the shogun, oh my god, his head's on the ground. So I was just like, damn, like this is why you do not partner with someone like Kaido. He has a reputation, man. So I thought this bit was pretty insane, especially with the ultimatum Kaido offers Orochi Samurai next. He's like, alright, you got 5 seconds to choose. You have either a life of piracy, you can join me, you can join Big Mom, we'll all go out and, you know, plunge this world into darkness. Or, and alongside that, by the way, we're going to be destroying your homeland, you know, just to add some extra spice. Or you can fight against me, Kaido, and Big Mom, as enemies, and, you know, you can see how that goes. We just killed your leader, by the way. So I thought this, you know, it's not much of a choice, but I think this is hopefully where we'll get to see some last dregs of pride from the Oniwabanshu, from these betrayers, from these samurai, from these older samurai. If they have any amount of samurai left in them, they won't bow down to some foreign tyrant looking to destroy their homeland and making it some sort of like giant brothel or giant factory, a weapon factory or something like that. So I'm hoping we get to see a little bit more of the samurai regaining some of their previous honor, regaining some of their previous integrity, but also that even if they do all this stuff, they're still not forgiven by the Yakuzaya 9 for what they've done in the past. Now, 3 things to note here. First, Kaido makes mention that he doesn't care about the whole Kurozumi Kozuki beef, which might mean safety for Momonosuke for at least the time being. I'm not sure. He doesn't look like he's getting prepared to execute Momonosuke, but seeing as he just lopped off the head of one leader, the shogun of Wano, and seeing as he has someone who's the heir to the throne, or the heir to the shogunate of Wano, it would make sense for him to then go and be like, oh, by the way, we're going to execute this kid because he's actually the next leader of Wano, so let's do that too. So I'm not sure where he's going to take this, but it would make sense either way. If he's like, I don't really care about this kid. This kid can't do shit to me. He doesn't really make any difference. I'll let him go. He could do that. Kaido is that guy. Or he could just be like, actually, let's get rid of this whole storyline and kill him right now. So I'd love to see where that goes. We know that Luffy and Yamato are on their way there, so it's probably not going to occur anyway. Second, Kaido talks about how Wano will be no more. The new flower capital will be Onigashima itself, that little island, and then Wano whole will be known as New Onigashima, of which Yamato will be made shogun. So that's what Kaido's announcement was surrounding Yamato. Oh, he's going to be the shogun of this new Onigashima. And Yamato doesn't seem to be a big fan of this. This seems a bit like a misstep for Kaido. You know, why would you give someone a position of power if they're against you, or they dislike you, or you've abused them in the past? It's not a great idea, unless of course Kaido means to treat Yamato as kind of another puppet dictator. That would make sense. Third thing, Orochi may have been beheaded, but is he dead? I feel the story really needs the Akazaya 9 to meet with Orochi and kind of they confront their history with him, they confront their pain, their hatred. All of that needs to happen, and I really, really want to see that with Orochi. We really need to see that happen, and having him killed off like this was a shock for sure, but surely not the end of Orochi for me. This is where his devil fruit needs to come into play, I think, with loads of people speculating. Even on Reddit, you see on every platform that I've seen this chapter on, people speculating that he has 7 more heads. He's the Yamato no Orochi. He has 7 more heads, 7 more lives, which need to be kind of cut off or cut away from him. My only kind of response to that was, but if he was stabbed in the heart, like I understand his head got chopped off, but if he was stabbed in the heart, would that be insta death? Is that his weakness? Thinking about it, Orochi might really be done, though that wouldn't sit right with me from the perspective of the Akazaya 9. And with this, we come to the end of the chapter. Luffy and Yamato make their way towards the stage, with Luffy concerned about Momonosuke and Yamato seething about this announcement that his father made. And Yamato also still Yamato still has her exploding cuffs on, so I'm not sure exactly what she's going to do about that. Luffy really needs to consider taking those off, unless like Fukurokuju or someone like that has like some sort of switch that'll just blow her hands off. But Luffy really needs to sort that out real quick. But that's the end of the chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of it. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I will see you guys tomorrow, I think. Yeah, tomorrow when I release my My Hero Academia review. So I'll see you guys in a bit.